Well, hello everybody. Next week, here we are. I need to start off this week by just revisiting the ply testing from last week because we left a couple of bits being tested. So let's do that. This is the one that was in the dishwasher. So it's been in the dishwasher now for 8 days. It looks absolutely perfect. There is no sign of anything going wrong, so certainly dishwasher proof. And then let's have a look here. This one, do you want to have a look at that, Kerry? Focused? Yeah. This one's been in that bucket of water now for 8 days. The whole time, been soaking for 8 days. Wet, as you'd imagine. You know, it's taken quite a good dark colour, look. But the gluing is splendid. Marvellous. So, you know, that's the plywood testing and I'm happy. Good. So what's going to happen this week is that need to get a few little bits ready for the planking, a few final jobs done so we're ready to plank it. So that's what we're going to show this week. Kerry and I spent this morning and a bit of this afternoon in the end putting a new deck down on the balcony. It looks like this. It's come out well, happy with that. So we put a Douglas fir deck down on that. Obviously took a bit of time. But obviously, you know, it's one of the realities of boat building is that you can't just 100% all the time do your boat building. You have to go to work. And there are other little jobs around about that need doing. Sometimes you have to take a few hours out to do a deck on your balcony or whatever. Anyhow, what I have done is that if you can see up here, Hazel, can you see that there? Yeah, does that focus on that? Good. So I've drilled limber holes, so holes through the bottoms of the frame so that water will drain to a central bilge. Limber holes through every station. 2 limber holes through every floor beam and, yeah, through every floor beam, basically speaking. Not stations, floor beams. All the way to the very front with, obviously, you wander through. Good. With obviously the exception of the very first bulkhead, which is going to be a watertight bulkhead, so you don't have limber holes through that. But every other floor beam has got the limber holes through. I've drilled 16mm holes through, and I think I mentioned last week I wrote an email to Dan Johnson, who built Hester, and asked him how he went about it. He told me he put small holes through the outsides of the frames. The idea being that when you're sailing, you're either heeled slightly one way or the other way, so any water inside would collect either one side or the other side. So we've got the limber holes fairly near the outsides, so water will flow through to a central bilge, any quantity of water would. Now, basically speaking, this is, when it's finished, it's pretty much a monocoque structure. You know, it's all going to be formed together. So I didn't imagine it would leak much. One of the things that Dan said was she's a very dry boat, and I can well imagine that's true. But nonetheless, you know, it does seem wise to have limber holes. I've drilled these 16mm holes, and I've cut lengths. Let me get one out. I've cut lengths, well, I'm starting to cut lengths of stainless steel tubing. It's a 15mm tube that fits precisely in that hole. Obviously it's a little bit loose in there, so I shall spread a load of epoxy around that, sit it in the hole, and make sure it's sealed on the outside, just to seal the inside of the hole. I don't want that exposed end grains soaking up water, so that will seal the end grains there, and I'll do that on all of those. That we're about to do. If we go back a bit, Hazel, I think what we'll do now is we'll come up and we'll do this mast step. I should just go through there, in here. As I've said a few times, the main mast comes in here. So we need 2, as I said last week, 2 beams going that way where our main mast step will come. So I think that's what we'll do now. We'll mark those out, we'll cut them, we'll cut a couple of slots in here, and we'll fit those longitudinal mast step pieces there. That's what we do now. So we'll cut here, I'll get ready with the tools I need, and we'll mark that out, cut the slots, cut the pieces, get them in. So here we are, main mast coming up in this section, you remember? These longitudinal members come 45 centimetres. I've rounded up here, but I've approximated the figures from the plans. But, so I'm going for 45 centimetres to the outside of the longitudinal member from the centre line. So we're coming through there, just mark that in there. That's there, isn't it? Yeah, good. Right, so we mark that, just square that down. Let's have a look at what we're doing here, come around there. Square that down there. And same the other side here. Square that down there, good. Okay, cut that out. So I've got these two pieces of wood here, which I've got it right, go in there, that's nice. So we'll take that width, we're going to cut slots for those to fit in, we'll take that width there, lovely. And that width there, like that. Good, and we'll square that down. That one. So I'm going to do the same thing on this one here. So 45 centimetres out from there, look, brings us to there, like that, one, and something this side, 45. Will bring us to, let's check that I didn't slip, I didn't. Bring us to there, that's good. And we'll square that down. There we go, that one down there. That one down there. I do rather like these carpenter squares. I have a feeling squares might be a Tony's tooltip one day. Good, let's just mark that. Thickness. Coming in there like that. That's good. And that thickness there, coming in there like that. Good. Square those down. Good. And good. Like that. Good. That can go out the way. Now, just have a look, see if I've got that anything like right. That will come through there. That looks about right, doesn't it? Very good. Very good. Right. Next job, check that through there, 36 centimetres. See if it's the same there. It is, and remarkably also 36 centimetres. These are 40 long, which means we need to go in here 2 centimetres. Our notches will be 2 centimetres. Good. So we take our circular saw. Good. On the side, we've got some depth markings. If we set that to, I can't see anything. What is it? 2 centimetres there. There's 2 centimetres. If we set that to 2 centimetres, it should, in theory, be right. Have a little look. Looks to me like it's a little bit shy. Come in a little bit more. Something like that. Right. That looks good. So, nice and tight. Plug it in. Very well. Put some nice protective gear on. Like that. And like that. Get that out of the way. So we've got room to move here. Let's see what happens. This is going to be loud. So I've cut the 2 lines, and now I'm just going to cut a few more sort of randomly through there. Good. So I'll just do this one, and I'll do the other 3 when the camera's not running. Back in a tick, you can look at how beautiful that looks. You see it?
Yeah.
Very good. And if you step back, give me a fraction of room, working above my head. Chisel, I'm going to take those bits out. Something like that. Always best to work from both sides. Whack me head. A bit more there. One more there. Good. And that looks pretty good. You can have a look at that one, Hazel. So, just got to do the same in the other 3. I'll do that without the camera running, and we'll come back to it. Good. Okay. So there we are. Cut those 4 grooves. Look fairly tidy. Got that piece of wood ready to go in there. I'll just put a bit of glue on there and put them in there. Might be a fraction tight, but I'll put it in Bit of glue on there, bit of glue on there. Lovely. On there. On there, good like that. That's looking good. Glue's all dribbling out, that's what you do when you're doing things with one hand. And the film camera's running. That's the way things go, isn't it? Get in there. There we go. It's a good tight fit. Still needs to go down a bit. About right. And this side obviously a bit more. About like that, I think. Perfectly flush. Good. That's how they're going. The glue will all swell up, fill up any gaps. We'll clean that up later. And those being, obviously they can't move sideways because they're in those slots. The bottom planking will glue to there, so it'll be nice and well fixed. I should put the other one in now, but that'll do us. I'm sweating, man. And there we are. That's those two in there, and there's our mast step obviously coming in there. Nice big heavy mast step, looking good. Okay, there's one thing I was wondering about. Now I've got, as you know, more than 1,000 subscribers, which I'm really pleased about. Thank you very much, everyone. I was wondering how many of you are thinking of building a boat? I'd be very interested to know. If you'd like to just leave a little comment below this video. Tell me, are you building or thinking of building a boat? And what sort? That'd be interesting. Thank you. Okay, we're at the bow. Something flying around. We're at the bow. I just wanted to talk about a couple of things that I mentioned in an earlier video. Let's start here. This is still a bit sticky, but if you can zoom in here, Hazel, you can see what we've done on the stem. Just go up and down the stem there. Okay, and if you just come back again, come out of there a bit. So what's happened is I laminated the stem up in two different pieces. So if you go back to laminating the stem videos, we started off with 5 centimetre, 2 inch wide mahogany strips, about 3/8 of an inch, 10 millimetre thick, laminated the curve. And then I beefed that up with some 9 centimetre, 3.5 inch wide Douglas fir behind it. So there's the mahogany, there's the Doug fir around the curve, and that left a sort of right angled notch between the 3.5 inch wide Doug fir and the 2 inch wide mahogany. We had that right angled notch. So I've put this piece of Doug fir in there to fill that up. I called it a fillet in a video the other day. I cut a triangular piece of Doug fir, and then, because there was no way it was going to bend to that curve, I cut in a couple of saw cuts, one in there, down to about a half inch shy of the bottom. And I bent it round. Obviously the saw cuts opened up and it cracked a little bit there, but that was fine. It got me round the curve, and then obviously I've planed it up to shape to make sure everything's faired and running true. And I've put some epoxy filler. I've filled those cracks up with filler, and it looks great. Done it both sides, come out really well. Pleased. So we're all fair. When the bow boards come on there, I shall have some bronze screws going through into the mahogany. So that'll all be sound. So basically, we're going to use the ring nails around on the chine log shear clamp. Bow and stern will have some screws through, so everything's solid. So that's one thing we've done. The other thing that's gone on is that I put bronze bolts through the knee, the stem knee and the stern knee, and epoxy filled on top of them. I've left them sticking out at the moment, but later on I shall cut them off flush and nice and smooth so there's no sharp bits or anything that might snag up. But that's done. Obviously the mast step is done. So we're at the stage now, I'm just trying to make sure that everything is ready for the boarding. I've been around the top of here with a bit of filler, and I believe we're ready to board. So what Kerry and I have just done, we've just finished, is we've brought 2 plywood boards in. I cut them just a little bit longer than they needed to be, so I cut them to 2 metre lengths. We laid them up on top of the boat, and I've drawn around with a pencil just about 3/4 of an inch wider than the boat is, about 2 centimetres wider than the boat is. We've taken them back in next door, I've cut them to shape, and we've just laid out some glass cloth, the 2 ounce, 48 gram square, it's not quite 2 ounce in truth, but anyhow, 48 gram a square metre cloth. We've laid it out on there. I'm about to go in there and epoxy that. So the boards have got the cloth and epoxy on the inside before they go on the boat. So we've got it completely sealed, except for the board joints, of course. And there later on I shall put a bit of glass band across those board joints, so it will be completely sealed on the inside. Glass tape. Yeah, so that's where we are. I'm about to get my epoxying gear on, go and do a mix and get those epoxied. Should be dry by tomorrow, and we'll get the first 2 boards on tomorrow, so this is pretty exciting stuff. First 2 boards going on the bottom tomorrow evening. Good, there we'll cut.
Riches in the sunset, standing out to sea. Tell me where you're going so decisively. What's your destination? Tell me where you're bound. We can move together where adventures abound. Running free before the breeze.